Hey, what is up, everybody? Hopefully on Instagram and on YouTube, you guys can hear me. We had some technical difficulties yesterday. Hopefully we fixed that. So let me know on both. We are going to be talking today about the latest. So if you were here last night, we were talking about some of the Diddy stuff. And while I was there, you guys, somebody told me about a new lawsuit, and it was so brutal. So brutal. Okay, I got all goods on both. Thank you, guys. That I was like, hey, I'm going to make this video now and post it in the morning, which I have done on both Insta and on TikTok. And now we're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about some names. You guys have been asking for names for a while, and we have some, and I'm going to go over what they are named as co-defendants on, and in some of these lawsuits and why. And I know that a lot of people are asking me about the Menendez hearing today. I need to get myself caught up on what's happening today once it's all said and done with, and I do plan to do an update for you guys on that as well. So if you are new here on First Talking to Insta and YouTube, please hit that follow. Please hit that subscribe button. Insta, we're trying to get it to 100K. We are so close. And then YouTube, we're trying to get to 35, and we're pretty close there as well. For my TikTok folks, this is my backup account because I am still banned for another roughly 29 hours from going live, but tomorrow evening I should be able to go live on my main account, but that will be a sub live. So I use this account solely when I am banned, can't go live, can't post, whatever the case is, which is rare, but it does happen. That being said, just real quick to get through the housekeeping items, I asked you guys to sub and hit the sub button or follow button, whatever. For those of y'all who are new here, who don't know, I have written a couple children's books. Normally I throw them up and I do this whole thing. I'm not going to do that today because I'm being lazy, but you can get them in the TikTok shop or through my link in my bio. One is called Boundaries. One is called Surprises Are Okay, Secrets Are Not. They're designed to help you have tough conversations with your kids. Surprises is designed to keep your kids safe, so I don't have to do a story on them. And if you order the bundle of the two or a hardcover, those come with free shipping no matter where you order it from. Now, that being said, let's jump right into this. So there was, and for those, by the way, on Insta and TikTok, I will be showing pictures after we get through what I'm about to go through. I will issue a trigger warning on that. So if you guys do want to jump over, though, on YouTube to see that, you absolutely can. Now, the story that we're about to go to is brutal. It's in my opinion, probably the worst case as far as details go that I have read. I will also tell you that I was able to pull the actual physical lawsuit. It's, I think, 62 pages. Because I got it sitting right here. I am creating a folder that put all the lawsuits I can find in them. So for those of y'all who want to go through them, read them in their entirety, dissect them, whatever, have you, the ones that you find interesting, you will have that opportunity. My goal is to have that live for you guys by the end of the week. That is my goal. We'll see if I make that happen. But this one is brutal, guys. This one is really brutal. So just a trigger warning, and we're going to jump right in. I mean, the headline is, it doesn't matter what the headline is. Let's just kind of talk about it. So basically, there is a woman by the name of Ashley Parham, and she filed a lawsuit against Diddy for also, I think that there's charges for kidnapping, false imprisonment. Let me see. Let me go back up to the okay, SA, battery, R, S abuse, false imprisonment, and kidnapping. That's coming straight from page 2 of the actual lawsuit. Somebody asking what's my YouTube, Tommy D. It is the same name on here. It is Just in the Nick of Crime is my YouTube, but you can also get to it by going to that as my website, which is justinthenicktime.com. I will. Somebody just asked how will we be able to read them? So once I have everything gathered, I will create a link for them, and I will put that on my website for you guys to be able to access, and I will let y'all know when that is up, just so you guys are aware. But yeah, you can go to YouTube directly into my picture. So yeah, that's what we have. So with this particular woman, Ashley Parham, she said basically that back in 2018, she was at a bar and she met a guy by the name of Shane Pierce. Now, Shane Pierce. And Shane is friends, whatever, with Diddy. So, trying to impress her, trying to impress the people at the bar, he pulls out his phone and says, hey, I'm friends with Diddy. Let me FaceTime him. And he FaceTimes Sean Combs, and he answers the phone. Oh, let me take this thing that's scrolling off the bottom off. But he answers the phone. And This girl's not impressed. In fact, she's so unimpressed that during the conversation, she says something. I don't know what the exact verbiage was, but she says something along the lines, basically telling him that he's responsible for the death of Tupac Shakur, that he's responsible for it. Now, allegedly, he got very mad about that and said that she was going to pay for it. So that being said, they part ways. This was back in February of 2018. And then on March 23rd, 2018, Shane calls Ashley. I don't know, what the dynamic was in the last month or so, but he calls Ashley, says that he's on cancer drugs, cancer medications, and he was too weak, unable to open them. Could she come over to help him do that? And she did. And shortly after she arrived, Diddy arrived, wanting to take revenge on her for what happened. Now, I'm going to tell you, reading this and going through this, I'm going to take a moment to say this. I think it's important. A lot of what I'm going to read and talk about here today or go over, I'm going to do it as TikTok friendly as I possibly can, or TikTok, YouTube, Instagram friendly as I possibly can. A lot of it will sound outlandish. I'm just going to be very straight with you guys. It sounds, some of it even possibly almost impossible, but here's what I want you all to keep in mind. There have been thousands upon thousands of people calling to take, for these lawyers to take the case on these civil suits. The ones that they have filed are ones that they feel confident can go to trial, can go to, that they have enough evidence to move forward. This particular person, Ashley Parham, is requesting a jury trial. She believes that she has enough evidence, we don't know what that is, to have a jury trial about this. So as we're reading this, because I've seen it in the video, people are going to say, I don't believe this. I don't believe this. And look, it sounds outlandish. I get it. But bear in mind that these lawyers at this point, these early filing these cases that are being filed early, the first ones, they're ones that the lawyers have vetted and they feel there's enough evidence to go forward. So I just want y'all to keep that in mind as we listen to this, because this is crazy. So when she first arrived, she told him that she never thought she would see him in person. Then he approached her, held a knife to her face, threatening to cut her cheeks into what he called a Glasgow smile. Now, somebody corrected me on the video saying that it's really called a Chelsea smile. It's obviously, probably, an ear to ear kind of thing. I don't know what it's called in the lawsuit. It's called a Glasgow smile. That's what I have to go with, because that's what's there. I'm not going to change the word, but that's what they started out with. Ashley says that she was saved by this happening to her by Diddy's long-term assistant, Christina Coram, who is also named in this lawsuit, because she apparently told Diddy not to cut her because they could sell her for, basically traffic her, saying that they could basically threatening to ship her overseas, never to be heard from again. From there, Diddy ripped off her clothes, apparently slathered her, covered her body in an oil or lubricant, and violently shoved the TV remote into her. He grabbed the TV remote. Apparently, there was another device that he liked to use. I think they called it an IUD, and it's not like an intrauterine device. Like, it's not like, birth control, but something that's what he called it. But they couldn't get it to function, so angry about that, he grabbed the TV remote and arred her with it. This is all because she said that she thinks he had something to do with Pac's murder. Now, apparently, while violently arring her with the TV remote, Diddy told Ashley that her life was in his hands and that if he wanted to, he could just take her and she would never be seen again. Oh, somebody said that it said internal electric device for electric shock. Okay, thank you for letting me know that, because I didn't know what that was. So the device that they couldn't get to work was an internal electronic device for electric shock. Thank you for letting me know that, because I did not know. So that's what he had that didn't work. So he used the TV remote instead. After arring her with the remote and threatening her life, the lawsuit claims that Diddy told Shane Pierce to turn her on the stomach because he was tired of hearing her, basically her crying, her screaming, her begging for help. He was tired of that. So he said to turn her over so he couldn't hear her. He then told Pierce to, I don't know how to word these where it's TikTok safe, to R her, but in a different place. After basically there told Shane, the guy who was too sick to open his cancer drugs, to rape her there, or are her there after putting a pillow over her head so she wouldn't see her face or hear her cries. Diddy then did the same type of R to her, taking turns with Pierce and a third man. Then a fourth man R'd her, we'll call it the more traditional way. The lawsuit claimed that after the gang R, they left her lying incapacitated and went to smoke in the backyard. She apparently recovered enough to be able to try to get up, cover herself with a shirt, grab a knife, and try to escape. But Diddy apparently was in the way. He blocked her and said that he was surprised that she was able to be up and about because he gave her enough substances to take out a horse. She claimed that he told her that he hadn't had any three-letter word starts with the letter A that tight in a while, and offered her money to say that what happened was consensual. She refused, though. She didn't take the money, and she told him that she was going to report him to the police. Apparently, Sean Combs told her that no one would believe her and then threatened her family. Then one of his friends showed her what appeared to be a live stream of the front of her sister's house. Now, up to this point, I have said that Diddy's mom, probably didn't know what her son was doing, but this lawsuit says otherwise. Because she was adamant that she was going to tell. And she claims that Diddy then called his mother, Janice Combs, to try to have his mom talk to her to try to convince her to drop this whole thing, demanding that she not make trouble for him and dismissing her claims of R. Diddy also allegedly told her that he got away with worse crimes, and she believes that that was referring to Tupac's murder. That's what she believes. But this upset one of the other men who was with him, and that person drew a firearm. The lawsuit claims that Diddy ran from there, and Parham chased him with a knife that she had grabbed, and she eventually caught up to him. But instead of stabbing him, she ran for the door, claimed Diddy blocked her again, and so she took that opportunity and sliced his abdomen as she escaped. Now, that's really easy to prove or disprove, right? You have a scar in your abdomen or you don't. It's easy. Like I said, this story almost sounds insane, but again, these are ones that the lawyers have vetted to the point that they're like, these are the ones we need to file first. These are the ones that can go forward. She claims that she ran to the neighbors for help, and Diddy sped away from the house as that was going on. She then told a cop from Contra Costa Sheriff's Office who responded to the 911 call that she made. So there was a 911 call, told the officer that she was violently gang-R'd by Diddy and his friends. But when it was time to give a statement to the Walnut Creek police, she was in the hospital having just had an R kit done. So she went to the hospital as well. She became too fearful to tell them, and she left Diddy's name out of the report because she believed she would be ignored and would be further harmed by him if he discovered she named him to the police. She got scared because he had threatened her family, he had threatened her. So that's what happened. She claims to also have reported the crime to the Orinda Police Department, but again was too afraid to name Diddy as one of her assailants. That means there's a paper trail to all of this, by the way. There's a kit to all of this. The lawsuit claimed that none of the police she made a report to, any of the three different areas, not one of them ever opened an investigation or pursued it. She also names the long-term assistant, Kina Harper, in the lawsuit, and she's accusing her of assisting Combs' predatory behavior and proclivities by setting her up. Proclivities, there we go, by setting her up to be SA'd and R'd by Diddy, as well as assisting in covering up the crime thereafter. Apparently, at some point, this is how this line reads. Once referred to as the Ghislaine Maxwell to Diddy's, basically to Jeffrey Epstein, like comparing, saying that Kina Harper is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Diddy, basically. She has, until this lawsuit, has not been formally accused of any wrongdoing or charged with any crimes. As you all know, that since this happened, many lawsuits have come up. Now, again, This is all in response to her saying that she believes he's responsible for Tupac's death. I believe he's responsible for Tupac's death. Keefe D said it. The guy who's on trial now, is he the most reliable person? Who knows? But the rumors have been swirling for 4 decades now. Yeah, 4 decades. From the 90s to now. And they're still swirling. This might be the most brutal, most detailed that we've heard yet. So like I said, believe what you want. Don't believe what you want. I believe victims still there's a reason not to. I believe this because there's a paper trail. And that's just my opinion. It's tough. Somebody asked if there are pictures of him with no shirt on. I've seen pictures of him without a shirt, but I don't know if they were prior to March of 2018 or after. You have to find pictures without a shirt past 2018. But here's the thing, and this is where we're about to throw some pictures up. I'm going to switch gears for a minute. We're going to talk about names because you guys want names. You guys want names. And so I'm going to show you photos, and we're going to talk about names. All right? Let me get my little list pulled up here. So again, if you want to jump on over to YouTube, now is your chance to do so because we have names. These are the well-known people who are linked to accusations against Sean Diddy Combs. All right, that's who we're talking about right now. Give me 1 second here to try to get so I can do this properly. There we go. The first one, as you can see in the picture, is R&B singer Aaron Hall. Now, Aaron Hall has been named a while ago. This actually comes from a complaint that was filed in November in the New York. Nothing going. All right, in the New York Supreme Court. A lot of things were filed right before the expiration date for the New York Adult Survivors Act, which basically gave a 1-year window extension where people could bring older cases of SA outside the typical statute of limitations. The plaintiff, who we've heard this name before, we've talked about her before, is Liza Gardner, and she accuses Combs and Hall of SAing her and a friend in Hall's apartment after a music industry event hosted by MCA Records in 1990 when she was only 16 years old, a child. She says that Combs coerced her into having S with him, and that afterward, Hall barged into the room, pinned her down, and forced her to sleep with him too. The plaintiff also alleges that Combs found her at her home and choked her until she passed out. And he was worried his girlfriend would find out about the incident. Now, I'm going to pause here for a second and say something about choking. And I talked about this the other night. So for a podcast that's hopefully getting ready to come out pretty soon, I'll tell you more about it when we get there. Myself, my co-host sat down with Nikki Schmidt and Nikki and Jim Schmidt, who are Gabby Petito's biological mom and bonus dad. And they obviously have done a lot of research onto this type of stuff. Their daughter, her manner of, Brian Laundrie killed her by strangling her. And pretty much if you can do this, if you can strangle somebody, even if it's not to fully take their lives, if you've done it once, the percentage of it happening to you, of dying that way, is very, 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 very high. And it's a preferred way because it doesn't leave any bruises. It doesn't leave any marks most of the time. So my point to bring that up is that if he did this, which I believe he did, then he's capable of taking somebody's life is the point that I'm making on that, more than likely. Now, in one YouTube video which was cited in the complaint, Hall says in an interview that Puffy had seen him have S. So Hall never responded for comment, and as of back in April, which has been a while, his lawyer wasn't identified. The next person we're going to talk about is this guy right here. Again, if you can't see the photos, that's because they're on YouTube. I can't show them. You actually might be able to see them on Instagram too, I think. But you can't see them on TikTok because it's just the way that this interface is. But this is Harve Pierre, and he has been named as a defendant in 2 lawsuits filed against Sean Combs, and that was also ahead of the Adult Survivors Act expiration dates. Now, both of these lawsuits were filed anonymously. One was filed in the New York Supreme Court, and the other filed in the U.S. District Court in the Southern District of New York. The plaintiff was listed as Jane Doe on both of those documents, And he was also listed as a defendant in Richard's lawsuit, which was, I don't know who that is at the moment. I guess that's a different one, but in a different lawsuit. Pierre was Combs' first employee at Bad Boy Record. He actually was the former president of Bad Boy Entertainment. Had been with him long enough. He worked with like the Notorious Big, B.I.G., and Faith Evans. Like he's been there since the very, very, very beginning. In the first complaint, which was filed back in November of 23, a former employee of Bad Boy who worked as Pierre's assistant accused Pierre of using his position of power to groom, exploit, and SA her. Combs and his companies enabled the abuse, is what it said in the lawsuit in the complaint. Then in a second lawsuit, which was filed December of 23, a month later, the plaintiff alleges that when she was 17, which was back in 2003, Sean Combs and Harve Pierre and an unnamed third defendant gang-ard her and trafficked her. Specifically, she alleges that Harve Pierre smoked, you can't say these words, the white powdery stuff and the stuff that comes from the white powdery stuff that's not as good. You know, like I got something to tell you, Joe Rogan, I smoke rocks, that stuff. And then forced her to give him, let's see, how do we... forced her to, you know, with that before bringing her from. I hate that social media treats us like we're children. We can't say these words. Before going from Detroit to New York on a private plane. In New York at a studio which was owned by Puffy at the time, Diddy. Actually, I think it was Diddy, but by that time, the defendants provided the plaintiff with drugs and alcohol before R-ing her. Now, Har Pierre's lawyer did not respond to requests for comment. He's denied accusations made in the... He didn't for that one. And in the second complaint, he's denied any accusation, saying that, quote, "This is a tale of fiction. I have never participated in, witnessed, nor heard of anything like this ever. These disgusting allegations are false and a desperate attempt for financial gain." That was the statement he gave. Pretty much the same statement that he gives, that Diddy gives. I don't know anything about this. Next one up, this guy's pretty well known. This one's pretty well known. Kuba Gooding Jr. Hold on one second here. See, there we go. Checking something real quick. Yeah, somebody said they couldn't hear me. I'm like, let me double check and make sure that's on both, but it seems like it's just one. Kuba Gooding Jr. And he's been named before. Now, this was a complaint. He was named in the complaint by music producer Rodney Jones Jr., a.k.a. Little Rod. And he lists Kuba Gooding Jr. as a defendant, basically accusing him of SA and S harassment. Specifically, Little Rod accuses Diddy of grooming him to pass him off to Kuba Gooding Jr. The two were left alone in a makeshift studio on a yacht rented by Combs. And there, Kuba began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones' legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, the small of his back near his buttocks, and his shoulders. That's what the complaint alleges. Now, do bear in mind that Kuba has previously pled guilty to a misdemeanor count of forcible touching. This is another one where Kuba Gooding Jr.'s lawyers did not respond for a comment. This one is interesting. Justin Dior Combs, Diddy's own son. He's a defendant also in Little Rod's amended complaint. In a wide-ranging list of allegations, he accuses Justin Combs of soliciting S-workers and underage girls, as well as engaging in the freak-offs. He also says that both Justin and Sean were the only other two people present in the room when G, a friend of his, this part's very interesting. Please listen to this because we've talked about a few of these things. I'm going to repeat this whole paragraph here. He says that both Justin and Sean Combs were the only other two people present in the room when G, a friend of his, was shot at a recording studio. Basically, the implication there is that one of them shot G. And I'm going to pause here real quick and remind you all that he's been accused of Tupac's murder. He's been rumored to have had something to do with Biggie's. We all know the stuff about, Kim Porter's death. There's been bodyguards, one of his and some of Biggie's that were mysteriously killed. There was the Club New York back in, I think, 98, 99, Club New York fight where somebody died and it all got pinned on the artist, even though people saw Diddy having the gun. I think that that's all very important to know know that and know that background when we talk about that. Okay, but he implied that one of them shot G. Let me see what else here. Now, Justin Combs' lawyer said the complaint was utterly bonkers on his radio show, which is called Beyond the Legal Limit. And he said this quote, "It's clearly written in an effort to get as much publicity as possible, not only for the case, but for the lawyer whose name I don't even remember, literally some maniac," he said. And he wouldn't respond to a comment. Now, here's something that I want to point out. I believe victims till we have a reason not to believe victims. I think that that's the way it should be. When you look at the percentage of false reports, it is very, very low, something like 3 to 5%. It's very, very low in the scheme of things, false reports. That number would probably be even less if you took into account the people who don't ever report or don't ever come forward because of the things that you see in the comment section on these videos, people being, accusatory of what they've done. What did you do to have this? This didn't happen. You're lying. You're out for a money grab. The people that say things like that. There was a video that I did yesterday about a 14-year-old girl, and people were asking what the 14-year-old girl did to have a 67-year-old man R her. My point is that there's a lot of reason for people to not come forward, men in particular, because it's an emasculating thing for a lot of men to say that, hey, this happened, and to go out in public and then not even do it as a doe, but to do it as your actual name. So I'm inclined to believe all of them, but particularly the men, because men rarely come forward when it comes to stuff like that. Somebody asked what happened to Shine. I don't know where he's at now, but he served 9 years for what happened there. Yes, this is being recorded on YouTube, so you can go catch up there later. So I just want to say that. Now, the next one, this one's interesting. Jacob the Jeweler. He owns Jacob and Company. His name is Jacob Araba, but he's known as Jacob the Jeweler, and he's named as a defendant. He does, high-end jewelry and luxury type items, very, very high value. So in this lawsuit, this was filed in July, so fairly recently. And the woman's name who filed it is Adria English. And in this lawsuit, Adria English accuses Sean Combs of S.A., S-harassment, and S-trafficking. This complaint alleges that she worked at Combs' famous white parties as a go-go dancer for years, and that at least one of the parties, he forced her to sleep with Jacob the Jeweler, and he was one of the guests. The girl, fearing not only for her safety, but for her then boyfriend's job security, did as instructed and went through with it. She said that Jacob basically engaged in forced intercourse at the demand and behest of Sean Combs. Adrian knew that refusing Combs' demands was not an option. The complaint also says that Adria saw Jacob the Jeweler solicit and ingest narcotics, and that there was a photograph of that included in the complaint. Or let me say that there's a photograph included in the complaint of both of them photographed together. Now, Jacob the Jeweler has been on the hip-hop scene for decades. Some of his early clients were Notorious B.I.G., Diddy, Jay-Z's rapped about him, and Beyonce's Upgrade You. Kanye has rapped about him, and Rick Ross's Live Fast, Die Young. So he's well known to this side of the industry. Basically, if you really want a statement piece, you went to him. He was all about flashy pieces, and that was his signature thing. If you wanted something there, that's what you do. He says that he's had Michael Jackson, David Beckham, Madonna as clients. Now, the complaint against him is not his first run-in with the law. Apparently, in 2006, he was arrested on money laundering charges as part of a plea deal. He was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for falsifying records and making false statements. He also did not respond for a comment. Next one up is rapper Young Miami. Now, she is mentioned too in Little Rod's amended complaint that he filed with the U.S. District Court in the Southern District of New York. But to be fair, in this one, she's not a defendant, and nor is she being accused of any type of S misconduct. But she is listed as being part of Combs' S trafficking operation and accused of bringing Combs' Tucci, which is basically what they call pink on a private jet. Pink snow on a private jet. The complaint says that she was retained on a monthly stipend as one of Diddy's S workers. It also alleges that her cousin, named as Jane Doe 1, assaulted Little Rod, forcibly giving him without consent. And again, Young Miami's representatives did not respond. You guys wanted the names of these people. These are the names that we have coming out that are co-defendants and named in some of these things. Next up is DJ and producer Stevie J. This is another one, but Little Rod in the amended complaint. Stevie J has been a long-time collaborator with Sean Combs. And he's claiming, then alleging, that Stevie J recruited S workers and participated in the freak-offs. But he does not name Stevie J as a defendant, just that he participated. But he does accuse Diddy of instructing Stevie J to teach him the type of S workers to solicit and the way to solicit them. So Diddy basically gave him instructions on how to go get more girls or guys. Jones also accuses Stevie J of sending threatening messages when Jones publicly asked Diddy to pay him for his work on the Love album, one of Diddy's albums. The complaint says that Combs used his connection to Stevie J, who was Jones' idol, to pressure him into S. And his attorney did not reply for comment as well. None of these people are replying for comment. Sorry about the dogs barking, guys. It's real life. The next is Kina Harper. She was a member of the group Diddy Dirty Money. One second. Along with Richards and Combs. In this complaint, she says that she and Harper were at Combs' home. They witnessed him yell at and choke Cassie Ventura before throwing this one's new information for y'all. Choke Cassie before throwing a scalding hot pan of eggs at her and then dragging her up the stairs. So let me read this again. In this complaint, Kina is accusing Kina Harper, saying that basically that Kina and Richards were at Diddy's home and they witnessed him yell and choke Cassie Ventura before throwing a scalding hot pan of eggs at her and dragging her up the stairs. I've said before that when you look at that video of Cassie, this was not his first time doing it. He was way too comfortable. And at that time, Kina apparently led her out of the house, and that the two of them spoke later to Cassie and encouraged her to leave the relationship. Apparently, Sean Combs responded by threatening them. The complaint also says that that Diddy forced Richard and Harper to work for days on end without breaks to sleep or eat, and that the two weren't properly compensated for their appearances. In response to the lawsuit, Kina Harper posted on her Instagram and said, "While I fully respect Dawn's right to recount her experiences, I want to emphasize that her account reflects her personal perspective and should not be interpreted as universal truth applicable to everyone." She said that it's important to understand that while I was present in some of the same professional settings as mentioned, many of the allegations and instances described in the suit are not representative of my experience, and some do not align with my own truth. Harper was also mentioned by federal prosecutors at the bond hearing, during which prosecutors argued that Combs should not be released ahead of trial. Let's see. The prosecutor discussing Combs' contact with witnesses said that between September 10th, which was the day Dawn Richard filed the lawsuit, and September 14th, the day Kina Harper made her statement on Instagram, that Diddy called or texted her 58 times. So let me make sure that you guys understand that or heard that right. So between September 10th, which is the day that this lawsuit was filed, and September 14th, a 4-day window, which the 14th was the day that Kina Harper made that statement that we just read on Instagram. Apparently, it is alleged that Diddy called or texted her 58 times. Next up is one that I don't think any of y'all are going to be surprised to hear about. Jimmy Iovine. Dawn Richards' complaint also mentions Jimmy Iovine, by the way, who is the co-founder of Interscope Records and Beats Electronics. In this complaint, they talk about a dinner party that was held by Sean Combs in the months leading up to a deal between Bad Boy Entertainment and Iovine's Interscope, Geffen, and A&M Records. At the dinner, in front of Iovine, as well as dinner guests, Neo and Usher, Cassie Ventura, and Diddy had an argument that resulted in Diddy punching her in the stomach, causing her to double over in visible pain, crying. And even after Jimmy Iovine watched Diddy commit a violent assault in front of numerous high-profile witnesses, the Bad Boy Interscope deal took place and remained in effect, basically providing Sean Combs with immense financial rewards and enabling him to commit further acts of violence without fear of any repercussions. Now, for this one, they did reach out to Usher, Neo, and Jimmy Iovine. None of them replied to a request for a comment. They all just stay quiet. This one next is Universal Music Group CEO Lucian Gra. Now, he's the father-in-law to Sophia Richie, by the way. And he was originally listed as a defendant in Little Rod's amended complaint, along with Universal Music Group and Motown Records, but has since been removed as a defendant. But initially, he was accused of aiding and abetting Combs, specifically in racketeering and trafficking. And he said that Universal's Motown Records had a licensing agreement with Combs' Love Records. The complaint says that as CEO, Grange had a duty to ensure that the financial support they provided to Sean Combs and Love Records was not being used for S-workers, illicit substances, and laced alcohol. Now, the attorneys for Grange filed a motion to dismiss, which they called the accusations offensively false in a sworn statement to the court. Grange calls the accusations completely untrue and absurd and says he plans to pursue both plaintiffs and his counsel for having made such false accusations. See, so they made statement. In the statement to, when it was first filed, Grange's attorney, Donald Zakarian, called the complaint offensively reckless and said they would seek legal repercussions against Jones's attorney, Little Rod's attorney, saying that the plaintiff has now attempted to amend his claims against Sir Lucian, removing the original set of outrageous falsehoods related to Sir Lucian, replacing them with wholly contradictory new falsehoods that are equally absurd. Not only will we demonstrate the offensive falsity of these claims, but we will seek recovery of every penny and cost and damage caused by their assertion. And in May, Jones' attorney dropped the claims against Grange, Motown Records, and Universal Group with prejudice, which means they cannot be refiled at a later date. So that's that one. Now, the last one we're going to talk about, and I talked about him the other night, is Kanye West. And I've got the lawsuit for Kanye West. So Diddy is not named. If I can't, I can pull it up, but I'm pretty sure Diddy is not named as a co-defendant in this suit. But I'm going to bring it up because it still involves Diddy, and I just don't like Kanye West. But it's a 122-page lawsuit, and it is brutal and it is vile. Not as bad as what we just went through at the beginning of this, but it is still pretty terrible. And that's going to be one that you guys will have access to as well. But the R occurred at a party that Diddy was co-hosting. She was given basically a laced drink. Didn't know that anything happened until several years later when Kanye got into a fight with his then wife, Kim Kardashian, about basically Kanye and this woman, Lauren, who was, Kanye's assistant, having an affair. And Lauren's like, I think I should reach out to Kim because, she's got this wrong impression about us. We never had an affair. And that's when Kanye said, well, we did kind of hook up that one time. And when she said, what are you talking about? He proceeded to say that, well, at this party, blah, blah, blah. And she said she doesn't remember that. And he just kind of said something like, girls always be trying to not remember stuff or something like that, basically gaslighting it and then walking off. So that's kind of what happened with that one. Now, these are the names of people who have been named as defendants, co-defendants have been named or implicated in lawsuits. We do know that there are other names that are probably going to come out, but they've not been officially named at this point in time. We still know that everybody's been pretty quiet. Hollywood's been pretty quiet about all of this. So my point is that that this is all just the beginning, guys. And here's the thing. There's so much coming out. And again, I'm always inclined. I just want to make sure how I raise this, or how I word this. I am always going to believe victims till there's a reason not to believe victims. All right. That's just the way it should be because so few of them are false. Can they cause reputational damage if they're false? Absolutely. And that truth needs to come out if that's the case. And I believe that. But you're not talking about one or two people that know each other here. You're talking about tons of lawsuits already filed. I don't know how many are already filed, but it's a lot. It's in the double digits. Not to mention another 290 something pending. This goes well beyond there are people just making this up, guys. Well beyond. This is a lot of information. And somehow every day since Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested, something crazier and more bizarre comes out. And it's like I don't know how the last lawsuit that we just read, that we did at the beginning of this, I don't know how that's going to be topped as far as bizarreness. I'm sure it will be. The man sounds like a deviant. He sounds violent. He's been accused of all these things. And he's gotten away with having zero repercussions for decades. For decades. He's not been held accountable for what he did. I don't know, guys. It's insane. But there's more to come. I'm quite sure of that. But that said, guys, I think that's what we have for today's show. It's a lot of stuff to go over. If you are watching on TikTok or you're watching on Instagram and you came in late, and even YouTube, this is recorded on YouTube. My name on YouTube is Just in the Nick of Crime. You can go back and watch this thing in its entirety. And so if you missed something or you can't finish it all right now, you can take it on the go. It will be saved immediately. That's everyone. I appreciate it. I may or may not be back later tonight live. Maybe on Insta, maybe on TikTok, maybe both, maybe neither. We'll see. We'll see how the night goes. But I appreciate you guys supporting. I appreciate you guys following. I appreciate you guys having interest in this and giving these victims a voice, because even if you are just listening, you are hearing their stories. And by doing so, you are giving them a voice that they've been silenced for so many years on. So thank you guys for doing that. Seriously. Anyways, somebody said all keys get us closer to Pac. I agree. 87. I love you, man. Yes, all of this gets us closer to Pac's. Anyways, y'all have a great evening, great afternoon, and we will see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.